Hello and welcome to the launch event of the Global Partnership Forum on Comprehensive Sexuality Education. I am Levi Singh with the African Youth and Adolescent Network on Population and Development, and your host for today. AFRIAN is a proud member of the Global Partnership Forum on CSE. We have an exciting and action-packed agenda for you today, and we'll kick off with some opening remarks from our co-conveners and co-sponsors, then heading to two dynamic panel discussions followed by a short video and some closing remarks. We have requested all our speakers to provide their interventions in English today, as we have simultaneous interpretation available in French, Spanish, and Russian. Along the bottom of your screen, click on the globe icon that says interpretation and select your preferred language. As many of you are aware, UNFPA and UNESCO are the co-conveners of this partnership forum. And to begin with, we will have opening remarks from the UNFPA's Deputy Executive Director, Diane Keat. Alongside her, we will also have Frédéric de Petris, the Deputy Head of the Human Development Unit from France, which is one of the leading conveners of the Action Coalition for the Generation Equality Forum on Bodily Autonomy and Sexual Reproductive Health and Rights. Madam Keat, could I please give you the floor to render opening remarks, followed by Mr. de Petris.
Thank you, Levi. Distinguished guests, cher Frédéric de Petris, ladies and gentlemen, bonjour, buenos dias, good morning, good day. Leaving no one behind, from 1.9 billion young people between the age of 10 and 24 is a real commitment made to the young people. As they traverse the treacherous and joyous path to adulthood, they need the knowledge, capacity, and power to make the journey safe. Critical gaps in knowledge in many areas exist, especially in Africa and Asia, including regarding contraceptive methods. Therefore, comprehensive sexuality education is essential for young people who plan to or are already sexually active, to also receive information on the full range of modern contraception and family planning services, including the dual protection against pregnancy, and to build the skills they need to make informed decisions and express their bodily autonomy. As an expression of this collective commitment to excellence and to harmonize and amplify the impact of our work, I am pleased to launch today the Global Partnership Forum on Comprehensive Sexuality Education and to reiterate UNFPA's full support to the forum as co-convener. I would like to recognize UNESCO, our trusted co-convener, as well as the event co-sponsors of AFRIANS, France, Norway, and International Planned Parenthood Federation. Dear friends, this partnership forum brings together for the first time formally like-minded stakeholders from various sectors to build a strong community of practice. It will serve as a tool to intensify advocacy efforts, generate research, and serve the global community as a space to catalyze new efforts toward comprehensive sexuality education programming. During the pandemic, UNFPA continued to provide comprehensive sexuality education, which became possible with the support of the Kingdom of Norway. And I would like to encourage more donors to come on board for phase 2 in order to scale up coverage of those who left behind. Today's events marks also joint contribution to the Generation Equality Forum that will be launched officially in Paris tomorrow. The Partnership Forum is at the core of the collective commitment on comprehensive sexuality education of the Action Coalition on Bodily Autonomy and Sexual and Reproductive Health and Rights. Together, we need to ensure that the global commitment that will be made in the upcoming days will be transformed into realities for young people and fill the critical gap and leave no one behind. I wish us all a successful event, and I look very much forward to the following follow-up actions of the Global Partnership Forum on Comprehensive Sexuality Education. I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Levy. Thank you, Diane. Dear UNFPA Deputy Executive Director, Cher Diane, dear ministers, dear UNESCO Director, dear partners from civil society, dear all, bonjour à tous et merci beaucoup. First of all, let me thank UNFPA and UNESCO for this important moment for sexual and reproductive health and rights, for comprehensive sexuality education, and for gender equality. It is my great honor to be here today as co-host of the Generation Equality Forum, and of course, as co-champion of the Action Coalition on Bodily Autonomy and SRHR, and as a co-sponsor of the Global Partnership Forum on CSE. A year and a half ago was launched the Bodily Autonomy and SRHR Coalition, along with 5 others Action Coalition. The Action Coalitions are global, innovative, multi-stakeholder partnerships that mobilize governments, women, feminist and youth-led movements, international organizations, and the private sector to catalyze collective action. They aim to create a new multilateral space in which the leaders and commitment makers can bring together collective commitments which can lead to concrete shared actions. 15 champions from different fields of expertise, geography, and experiences had the challenging mission to develop a bold and innovative document to advance SRHR, a roadmap that will set objectives for 5 years and beyond in the spirit of the Agenda 2030 and the SDGs. To do so, these champions had to identify 3 or 4 main priorities that could be game-changing for improving SRHR and the well-being of the future generation. Along with UNFPA and France, many others co-champions that are here with us today identified at an early stage of the discussions that CSE could and should be one of the priorities to become the first priority of the final blueprint. We can be very satisfied and proud collectively. The objective of this first priority is to increase delivery of comprehensive sexuality education in and out of school, reaching 50 million more children, adolescents, and youth in all their diversity by 2026. Comprehensive sexuality education is a valuable tool to talk to young and adolescents, to empower them to know their rights, and to help them make the right decisions at all stages of their lives and improve their health. It is a subject at the heart of societal, social issues, questioning social norms and behaviors, relations between people. Comprehensive sexuality education gives a voice to young people who must be at the center of our concerns. We must give the means to this future generation, in particular young girls, but also young boys, to express themselves on their needs, their expectations, and we must also consider young people as the main actors of the actions and policies that concern them. CSE is important for preparing the next generation and could have a virtuous circle of healthy relations among people, bring well-being, help to bring good living all together in a peaceful society where violence, especially sexual and gender-based violence, does not exist anymore. CSE is too often under attacks, and most of the time because it is not well understood or because the information around CSE are wrong. it is more than ever necessary to align our knowledge, expertise, and practice of CSE. Because the Action Coalition and the GF objective is to provide greater cooperation among actors and to help stakeholders work less in silos, the initiative of UNFPA and UNESCO of the Global Partnership Forum on CSE echo very strongly with this objective. This is why we are convinced that supporting this initiative is a concrete opportunity which would bring together a large number of actors and help improving access to CSE around the world. This global platform, by creating a community of practice, appeals for France and many others champion as an innovative and promising perspective for the Action Coalition, and we are very pleased that the platform had been identified as one of the 3 collective commitments. We have now 5 years to realize this ambitious collective objective to provide a unique platform with at least 80 members representing various sectors and regions, including youth-led organizations, for collaboration and building a strong, united voice to promote comprehensive sexuality education, address resistance, coordinate strategic response to influence national policy development and finance for CSE delivered in and out of school via evidence-based modalities. Finally, let me remind that because of the virtuous circle that CSE creates to all SRHR components, enabling this platform to grow, it will help us achieve the objectives of the Action Coalition on Family Planning, access to abortion, gender norms, and civil society movement strengthening. We are determined as a co-champion to increase our efforts to make CSE available for everyone, to ensure a society where SRHR and gender equality are a reality. We are very excited about the coming months and years ahead of us, and of course, about the coming days. Thank you very much. I wish you fruitful exchanges, and I thank you for your attention. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Diane and Frédéric, for your continued bold leadership and for setting the tone on how CSE is a key part of accelerating and achieving bodily autonomy and SRHR for all people. As I had indicated earlier, we've got 2 panels lined up for today. And through our first panel discussion, we'll look at how CSE in action can examine the opportunities for delivering CSE, both in and out of school, as well as during the COVID-19 pandemic. We're also looking at the evidence on outcomes of properly implemented comprehensive sexuality education. The panel discussion will be moderated by Paul Fief, who is with the Department for Education and Global Health at NORAD, which is the Norwegian Agency for Development Cooperation. And we're completely privileged because our panelists bring diverse knowledge and experience with them. We have Anuki from YPeer, Mohammed Ray from Rutgers in Indonesia, as well as Rami from Love Matters, and last but not least, Nicole from the Population Council. Over to you, Mr. Paul Fief.
Thank you so much, Levi. It's a pleasure on behalf of the Norwegian government to be here at the launch of the partnership of the CSE Partnership Forum. A few years ago, we met in Oslo. We thought out the idea together, young people, organizations, and it's really good to see, and credits really to UNESCO and UNFPA to work together to make this happen. And also credit to France and partners to basically set this as one of the key priorities in a very, very important action coalition. So we think it's timely. We think it's really important that we put in, shall we say, the efforts, the energy, and not least the evidence to make CSE available to everyone. So as you said, Levi, we have a very exciting panel. We're going to discuss out of school, in school, CSE in the digital space. And first of all, I think I'll turn basically the first question over to Anna, who is the international coordinator in the Empowering Young People to Empower Each Other organization. And I'll ask you, how is CSE contributing to the bodily autonomy and SRHR of adolescents and young people in school. Anouk, over to you.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Such an exciting time to officially launch this global partnership for the comprehensive sexuality education just before the Generation Equality Forum. The partnership has been an inspiring platform for already a couple of months, and I'm sure it will become even more important space for sharing and uniting actions to make the CSE possible for everyone, everywhere. I'm thrilled to join this panel discussion and to be able to share some of the reflections on the importance of out-of-school CSE, actually, since YPR mostly works in the out-of-school CSE sphere. I'm Anouk Mosiashvili, one of the international coordinators of advocacy and partnership at the YPR network. I'm coming from Georgia, a small Caucasian country with strong religious and conservative background. Though country had somewhat positive dynamics in the past years, the CSE remains practically non-existent at schools. Speaking from my personal experience, the out-of-school CSE plays a huge role in Georgian context, and I believe that that's the case in many countries around the world. Indeed, the out-of-school CSE can be an effective alternative when lacking the school-based CSE. However, it is also important to realize that the out-of-school CSE is always crucial, regardless of having school-based CSE in place. Peer education or any other forms of non-formal education have proved their effectiveness in many cases, and especially when it comes to sexuality education. However, there are few major challenges that need to be further discussed and addressed, and I would like to mention a couple of them. The out-of-school CSE needs more recognition, acknowledgement, and support, including material and capacity building assistance. While donors have been shifting their attention to mostly financing advocacy actions, many organizations, including YPR, find it quite hard to seek necessary resources for delivering the out-of-school CSE. At the same time, it is known that sometimes the out-of-school CSE can be the only way for young people to learn about their bodily autonomy and SRHR in general, many parts of the world. Furthermore, there has to be more research and analysis done to really track down and showcase the impact of the out-of-school CSE. The governments need to prioritize the out-of-school CSE in the national youth policies. Needless to say that having policies on papers does not always equal to their successful implementation. Therefore, when we advocate for CSE, it is important to always highlight the value of the out-of-school CSE. They must go hand in hand. The out-of-school CSE cannot only be the substitute for the lack of school-based CSE. As a young person who has worked with fellow young people for already many years, I can say that out-of-school CSE pays off and it can change the lives for better. Therefore, I would really encourage all the stakeholders to start and continue their support. Not to make take too much of your time, I would also like to briefly mention about one crucial thing that has to be taken into account while delivering the out-of-school CSE in order to ensure that it's inclusive. I would say, as in everything that concerns young people, meaningful youth participation is the key. Young people are not only learners, but they are also co-creators, they are drivers and the givers of the out-of-school CSE. And of course, great attention has to be drawn to how to reach out young people who are left behind. To conclude, I believe that this partnership is going to be a platform that inspires and advocates for all the mentioned above. Thank you so much for your attention, and I'm really looking forward to hearing the next amazing speakers and to continue this panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Anouk, and thank you for placing me in the right context. So this was really out of school. I was out of bounds. So, I mean, over to you, Mohamed Ray. I mean, it's great having you here. You're the program manager for Power to Youth at Rogers WPF in Indonesia. So what can you say about how CSE can contribute to the bodily autonomy and SRHR of adolescents and young people in school? So over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Paul. And it's a pleasure to be here and meet all of the panelists. I'm so excited about this launch of Global Partnership Forum as well for the comprehensive sexuality education. And hello, everyone here. As Paul already mentioned, I'm Ray. I'm the project manager for Power to Youth, a program that focuses on preventing child marriage, teenage pregnancy, and SGBV in Indonesia. And talking about the positive impact of CSE on adolescents made me reflect on our previous program at Rutgers Indonesia, especially the Yes I Do program that focuses on similar issues with my current program, funded by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands. I spent more or less 1.5 years living in West Lombok district in West Nusa Tenggara and had to witness how CSE can lead to adolescents' bodily autonomy. As quite different from what Anna has already mentioned before, I will share with you about CSE within the junior high school in a more rural context of Indonesia. And when we talk about CSE and its correlation between bodily autonomy, we should be more aware of how Indonesia's context can be one of the obstacles in implementing both issues and even so connecting them. The idea of CSE and its nature of being taboo and sensitive continues to limit discussions and teaching among people, let alone adolescents. It may jeopardize the status quo where adolescents are restricted to access needed services and information to lead a healthy and productive life. However, the teaching of the Setara or Semangat Dunia Remaja or Spirit of Teenagers module are trying to counter that narrative. We realize that Setara has a good impact on how adolescents are getting more aware of their bodily autonomy. In some circumstances, it creates a collective understanding of the prevention of harmful practices toward adolescents, especially girls. I'm going to share with you what it means and how it happened. However, as a disclaimer, I might say that the good practices on Setara implementation was not solely established by the in-school teaching. It was complemented by the out-school adolescent services conducted by community health centers, mainly delivered by midwife, and monthly community discussion on specific topics related to harmful practices. The Setara module encouraged more adolescents to be aware of where to go if they happen to become victims of harassment or forced to get married early or any other harmful practices. They also become more aware of the same things that happen to their surroundings, including their peers or family. Specific chapter in Setara module are dedicated to discussing the referral system in school and community and services they can access that have been adolescent and youth friendly. However, the underlying argument in this is that throughout the Setara learning process, adolescents are aware that they have the power and agency to make choices without fear of violence or coercion or having someone else decide for them, be it families, societies, or even governments. This notion of power and agency is crucial in achieving an awareness of bodily autonomy itself. Setara successfully contributes to adolescents having knowledge about and embracing the changes in their bodies and emotions brought on by puberty. Adolescents are feeling more comfortable with their physical selves and more normal, quote unquote, when talking about puberty. They attributed this change to the fact that the topic had become educational rather than taboo. The pedagogic method of Setara and its comprehensive material has equipped adolescents with knowledge and capacity to know when their autonomy is denied or when they are stripped of their rights to live free from violence and enjoy healthy reproductive rights. One more important thing is how Setara implementation is connected with the government program to prevent child marriage. So it is not just the students who know about the risk of child marriage, but at the same time, teachers have also stood up for the students by convincing parents not to marry their children. All in all, to conclude, I believe that we have to continuously provide accurate information around SRHR, unbiased and respectful, to prevent any harmful practices and promote a healthy life for adolescents and young people. I think that's all from me, and I'm really excited to welcome this forum as well and to share all the knowledge that we have for a betterment of CSE implementation around the world. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Ray. Really very, very exciting. So we're going to move into the digital space, and we have Rami Metwali with us, who runs the Arabic program on the Love Matters global platform. So Rami, COVID-19, the pandemic, has posed tremendous challenges to young people worldwide. So how can digital technology support leaving no one behind?
Yeah, so thank you, Paul, and hello everyone around the globe. It's my pleasure to be part of this very exciting event and for the launching of the global partnership Forum. So I am Rami Bitwalli, and as Paul mentioned, I am coordinator of Love Matters Arabic, which is part of Love Matters global network around the world. When it comes to digital space, it really helped a lot, and it has many advantages to reach young people and to not leaving no one behind. Because digital spaces have the advantage of high reach and engagement. You can understand the needs of young people, what they need, where they are, what the platforms they are using, and then you can create content which they find interesting and engage around this content, and then ask questions or interact, or you can reach them easily by understanding their needs and to provide them the information through a digital space. On the other hand, the digital space also give young people voice. So, for example, young people maybe in the restrictive settings or in conservative societies, they may shy of expressing or asking questions maybe in schools or in front of their colleagues, but in digital space, they feel more free to ask, they feel more free to engage, to express their needs, to asking for a specific content, to express their orientation, whatever they need, they feel more free and more powerful to do that through a digital space. This is, we witnessed a lot from our experience. And another advantage of digital space is it's being available all the time. So young people could join and search. If we created a trusted platform for them where they can engage and ask and having a scientific information, so they will find the information available 24 hours, 7 days per week. So they can reach it even if now they don't have internet. When they connect to the internet, they can ask and have a question. So this is also an advantage. And after COVID-19, we witnessed a new movement towards having more digital space, to converting everything to be digital. And this is a golden opportunity for CSE to be part of that. So digital space, we could provide services. Now we are witnessing services are providing online, counseling is being provided online. So digital space have many tools, many ways, like live videos, infographics, videos, articles, variable ways where you can reach and engage with young people and reach millions of young people without leaving anyone behind. So I believe we can work together on having a structured CSE education in digital spaces, having a digital courses, and young people could be certified. I think young people will be interested and they will join and they will interact because they are available and they use digital spaces for the whole day. Many have mobile and they can use and access information through digital space. It's cost effective and appealing for young people. So yeah, I think this is how could digital space, especially during and after the era of COVID, can serve CSE for young people.
Yeah. Thank you, Rami. That is really exciting. And these opportunities were not there a few years ago. So, I mean, we just need to go. So really exciting. So the CSE Partnership Forum, I mean, only works if it's based on what is actually being done, and what is being done is based on evidence. Shall we say, the efforts against CSE are so great that we really need to be able to point, shall we say, to research and to be able to substantiate, demonstrate what we're all doing. So with us, we have Nicole Habelan, Senior Associate with the Population Council. And Nicole, could you say what data research shows now about the outcomes of CSE, and what do we still need to learn? So over to you, Nicole.
Great. Thank you so much, Paul. And hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here, and thanks to the panelists. It's great to learn what's going on everywhere. I'm going to give you a whirlwind tour of comprehensive sexuality education research. I'm going to share 5 facts for which we are confident in the evidence base, and 5 lingering questions that are a subsample of research gaps. There are more, and I could talk about this all day, but I'm going to try to keep to time. So, fact number 1, life skills education that includes comprehensive information on sexuality and HIV does not lead to earlier sexual initiation or riskier sexual behavior. This is based on multiple reviews from low, middle, and high-income countries. Fact number 2, reviews that included abstinence-only programs found that abstinence-only program results are inconclusive or are not effective. Fact number 3, comprehensive sexuality education programs reduce sexual risk behaviors. Again, this is based on multiple reviews, including systematic reviews and meta-analyses. Fact number 4, life skills education that uses interactive, learner-centered, and skills-based teaching approaches are more effective. Fact number 5, programs that address gender equality and power dynamics are more likely to be effective than programs that are gender blind. So we know a fair amount about CSE. Nonetheless, we still have a lot to learn. Question number 1. For starters, we don't yet have evidence on many operational questions, such as the optimum length or dose of sexuality education programs, or whether saturation can make a difference. Can we increase the likelihood of having an effect if at least a certain percentage of students or young people in a community are exposed to a CSE program? And if so, is that tipping point, is that percentage 30%, 50%, 80%? We have to still learn that. Another question, we also don't know longer term impacts. For example, if young people receive sexuality education during upper primary age or lower secondary age, does this lead to beneficial outcomes, not just right after the program ends, which is when it's usually measured, but in the longer term, such as condom use in their 20s? Theory says yes, but we just haven't done the longitudinal studies to definitively determine that. Question number 3, we need to do a better job of measuring a broader set of outcomes so that policymakers have stronger arguments on which to base their decisions. For example, can CSE contribute to improving education outcomes, reducing violence, or fostering more equitable gender norms? We are completing, at the Population Council, we're completing a review of gender-related barriers to education. And you can check out a preview of the findings in the Girls' Education Roadmap. The link is posted in the chat, I think. And included in this review is an assessment of 15 life skills programs for which we were able to obtain curricula for 9 of them. And 6 of the 9 curricula included sexual and reproductive health and HIV content that we ranked as medium or high in terms of quantity and quality. And 4 of these 6 had an impact on education outcomes like enrollment, attainment, or learning outcomes, which is really great. While this seems encouraging, of the 3 curricula that had low or no sexual and reproductive health and HIV content, all 3 also had an impact on education outcomes. So this suggests that maybe other content in the life skills curricula that is essential for contributing to educational attainment and learning outcomes, not just the sexual and reproductive health content. In any case, we have a lot more to learn on this front. Question number 4. We also don't know whether it is essential or whether it's no value added to have multi-component programs. For example, programs that combine sexuality education with cash transfers or with condom distribution programs, or multi-level programs that work not just with young people, but also with their parents or the community. Very few studies are designed to test these questions directly, and that's a real research gap. Question number 5. What are the pathways through which CSE interventions have their effects? Is it better knowledge, better communication skills, greater self-efficacy, more equitable decision-making and relationships? If we better understand these pathways, we can be both more effective and more efficient. And these are key questions for Scale Up. And so there are a host more questions. And of course, COVID-19, as you know, has raised many, many more. The Population Council is looking forward to working with the Global Partnership on Comprehensive Sexuality Education to build the evidence base on these questions and more. It's really urgent that we do so, and we're excited for the challenge. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nico. Levi, I think this first panel really has shown, shall we say, that a lot of action is going on and that it's really important to have evidence and facts to underpin, shall we say, programs and actions. So I think I'll just leave it back to you. I think the panelists speak for themselves. A lot is going on. The CSE Partnership Forum can really, shall we say, spur this and share learning and scaling up.
Thank you, Paul. I wholeheartedly concur with you. Some incredibly rich and thought-provoking insights shared by the panel. And thank you to the panelists and you, Paul, for your efficient moderation. As Frederick had reminded us earlier to think about our commitments and actions between now and 2026, and having now just heard about CSE in action from the previous panel, let's now move forward and see what the future holds for young people and their access to comprehensive sexuality education. Our next panel is all about joining forces for gender equality and making commitments to children and young people for their improved health, well-being, and educational outcomes. The panel will be moderated by Eunice, who is an incredible young leader and the executive director of the Youth Coalition for Sexual Reproductive Health and Reproductive Rights, one of the leaders of the Action Coalitions in Bodily Autonomy and SRHR. He will also be joined by esteemed panelists from the governments of North Macedonia, the People's Democratic Republic of Laos, and Argentina, along with other representatives from the IPPF and the UN Gender Equality Initiative. Over to you, Eunice. You may have the floor.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you today. Thank you so much for the invitation to this amazing panel. And as the Youth Coalition, we're very excited to be a part of this amazing global partnership for comprehensive sexuality education. We really believe that the voices of young people are very important, that they must be included. And we are very happy to see our colleagues from YPER here as well. We have been trying to do some work together around this, and hopefully with this amazing partnership, we will be able to do so. And well, the Youth Coalition is also a youth leader in the Action Coalition on Bodily Autonomy and SRHR at the Generation Equality Forum. And we have been discussing a lot about comprehensive sexuality education and how it contributes to gender equality, how it contributes to the SDGs. And now I'm gonna start this panel by asking this question to our amazing panelists today. And well, first of all, I would like us to talk a little bit about like how do you think that comprehensive sexuality education contributes to gender equality and how does it contribute to the SDGs? I'm going to pass the mic. Unfortunately, Minister Mila Karovska has been called into a meeting and she cannot be here today with us, but I'm going to pass the microphone to her head of cabinet. So please come on in.
Thank you. On behalf of Minister Taroska, I would like to apologize to everyone because she's really not able to be here. They called for an urgent government session. But I would like to also stress the commitment of the whole government of the Republic of North Macedonia, particularly Minister Tarovska, which through whole background, not just as a minister, but also as a civil society activist, has worked really hard to integrating comprehensive sexuality education in our curricula and in our school. Comprehensive sexuality education is often inaccurately presented or viewed as something that needed not be spoken or taught at school, but when we simplify or clarify the context of the comprehensive sexuality education, that we need to speak about non-violence, about body image, about self-confidence, about acceptance, about building relationship with itself or with the other peers, building a healthy relationship with partners, then everybody says, yes, this is something that we need to our children to learn in school. Many evidence-based research show that including parents and teachers and young people, they have an essential need and they want and they are agreed to integrate all of these topics into the formal education, because in one period of time, this becomes like the most important surrounding for all of us. So this is where we form our relationship and where we build the image for ourselves and for the people around us. So what we find is, yes, we all agree that in these days, the internet seems like an easy option for an access to information, but also often very inaccurate source of information. And this information that can be found there can be harmful for young people's lives. That's why we need to have the opportunity to discuss all of these human life aspects at schools, in the homes, because young people can easily be a subject of violence and abuse and could build inappropriate relationship with other person in their surroundings. So that's why for us there is no doubt that sexual comprehensive sexuality education needs to be part of the curricula, and it is really vital and essential for achieving gender equality and for achieving the strategic development goals, because we say that no one should be left behind. We cannot achieve that if we don't have full gender equality, and we can't talk about gender equality if we don't talk about comprehensive sexuality education. So this is something that we have worked along the past years in the government, and particularly we are strengthening those efforts now to introducing the comprehensive sexuality education in our school, because we have a really huge comprehensive reform of the primary education curricula. So this is the moment when we want to integrate comprehensive sexuality education in all subjects through all aspects. But this is something that I can refer to later if you prefer, or now, depending on the structure of the panel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniela. And I think that now that we're also touching upon the importance of national education programs, I think that we can also start discussing that right now. And I just want to highlight some of the very important thoughts that you shared with us about like how it is very important to also involve parents, involve teachers, and involve adults in these initiatives. And that's something that the Youth Coalition has been pushing for at the Generation Equality Forum, because 100% of the young people and adolescents that we have talked to believe that one of the biggest barriers to achieve CSE is the adults, actually, and the opposition is really strong these days. So I think that is very important for us to address as well. So now I'm gonna pass the mic to Campasu Kirnavong, and please let me know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. So if you can share your thoughts with us about how does CSE contribute to gender equality and the SDGs, and why it is important and essential to have it as part of the educational program. So please come on in.
So hi, so I think you pronounced my name correctly. And then, so on behalf of the government of Laos, so Ministry of Education and Sport Laos, PR, and our partners, I would like to share with you some of how the CSE contribute to the gender equality in Laos, PR. In my opinion, comprehensive sexuality education contributes significantly to gender equality as equip young people with knowledge, attitude, skills to challenge discriminatory society norm. Is empower girls and with agency and increase self-esteem. And our work in Laos PDR contribute in achieving the result of the National Action Plan for Gender Equality 2021-25 and National Action Plan for Preventing and Combating Violence Against Women for 2021 and 2025. Provided CSE, adolescents girl in Laos is very important, as mentioned that as over 58% population below the age 25 years. Laos PDR is positioning or benefiting from the demographic dividend. However, adolescents and young people are still facing challenges such as adolescence, pregnancy, early marriage, high school dropout rate, and then we are addressing on the priority. So the government of Lao PDR committed to add the ICPD to 2025 Nairobi Summit for fully integrate CSE into the curriculum national-wide by 2030. Based on international technical guidance on the sexuality education, we have taken a system approach for implementation CSE in Lao PDR as a part of the comprehensive NOI ecosystem approach. UNEPA is the main partners for us to implement CSE through the country. So I can share with you CSE work in Lao. They include, we integrate CSE in the national primary curriculum, develop CSE in teachers' guides, books for secondary schools, training of pre-service teacher in teacher training college. It also developed a manual for the CSE for the TVET college as well, and train the pool of master trainers. And also we train the training teacher for primary and secondary schools and also TVET college, and then deliver CSE in student apply innovative tool in expanding CSE for our young children for divided background. We also partnership with Shai Fund Plan International and others for expanding CSE in more provinces. As you know that we have 18 provinces now. It's quite big, and 148 districts. So we try to use the multi-language joy developed by the Ministry of Education, Sport, and UNFPA. Also, we try to join on the effort of the ministry and the UNFPA partners to deliver CSE to primary students nationwide, and have delivered CSE to 53,000 secondary students in 5 provinces out of 18, along with 3,000 TVET students in 3 provinces out of 18 provinces. This year, we are expanding CSE in TVET college in 4 provinces. So also, we also focus for the out of school adolescents girls, the Nang Noise girls group curriculum is on essential life skill has been developed, and it has been delivered to the adolescent girls through female mentors, and we ensure the boy engagement as well. So I just would like to share with you, but due to time limit, so we are happy to share with you furthermore. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And yes, also a lot of young feminists have been highlighting the importance of involving also men in these conversations, and putting also a lot of focus on toxic relationships and gender-based violence and other subjects that are not specifically or maybe just about like intercourse and about like sexual relations per se. So I think that this is very, very relevant as well. And and well, also I'm gonna welcome the government of Argentina. We have here with us the the Ministry of Gender from the government of Argentina, and Argentina is also sitting in the Action Coalition on Bodily Autonomy and SRHR. So we have been sharing a lot of experiences in that Action Coalition. So I'm gonna pass the mic to you. Welcome.
Thank you. Hola a todos y todas. Hello to everybody. I'm coordination of the National Observatory for CSE. I am Andrea Mariño. I'm going to talk a little bit about Argentina experience in CSE. For the past 15 years, Argentina has had a national law that establishment that all students have the right to receive CSE in all educational establishments in the country, at the public or private, from kindergarten to higher education. Through these 15 years of operation of the National Program for CSE, important advances were made in the implementation and on other rights related to, such as equal marriage, gender identity law, gender-based violence law, and access to legal abortion. Having legislation, we know, is a very good step, it's a very good point, but it's not enough. We need to translate them into political programs. From National Ministry of Education, actions were deep in 4 key areas. Training teachers on CSE, developing of a great variety of teaching materials for work in classrooms, decentralization, the management of CSE, and progress at the legislation level in different aspects of CSE, which allows today to have a base of pedagogical contents to address in the classroom of all over the country. 15 years after the implementation of CSE, the main challenge is to advance in its implementation in all schools, in all educational establishments of national territory, and increase the presence of transversal and interdisciplinary approaches that recover the dimension and contents defined in the curriculum guidelines. The goal is that when we talk about CSI, we all people involved are talking about the same things. In this context, the Ministry of Education decides to found the National Observatory for CSE with the main goal of knowing about the level, the forms, and the modes of implementation of CSE in all over the country and the jurisdictional level also, to identify obstacles, challenges, and recovering from the voice of their own protagonists, teachers, students, and family, what is happening. In short, to have information for design and strategic planning of public policies. Since its foundation, the observatory has 3 main characteristics. It's federal, representation of all over the country and at jurisdictional level also, is multi-sectoral organization. It's led by the Ministry of Education, but they are involved Ministry of Education from all districts, representative of states linked to the CSI dimensions, like Ministry of Women, Gender and Diversity, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Social Development. Also are involved deputies, senators, teachers union, young and students organizations, civil society organizations, social movements, universities, and international cooperation organizations. Nowadays, we are currently building the system of indicators that is what we are going to look to advance knowledge in how CSE is implementing and which and where are located the gaps. We are thinking of monitoring at the national level and jurisdictional level in 6 levels: public policy, legislation, teacher training, community, and finally, CSE learning, which is what happens in the classroom, what happens in the schools. The build of these 100 of indicators is part of the process of debate and consensus with all the sectors that are part of the observatory. And finally, due to lack of time, to achieve a bit more equal society without discrimination of any kind, without gender inequality or violence against women and LGBTQ+, CSE is a powerful toy, always recovering the 5 dimensions on which is structured in our country, which are body and healthcare, respect of diversity, rights, affectivity, and gender perspective. We have a lot of work to do. Thank you so much for your time and your attention.
Thank you so much. And I really love this subject because this is something that young people really want to see. We really want to see accountability. We really want to see systems where we can hold our governments accountable for the implementation of CSE programs. So I think that the example of Argentina is a really good example of what should we be doing around the world. So thank you very much for that. And now I'm gonna pass the mic to our colleague Esperanza Delgado. She's the Director of Advocacy and International Relations of MEXFAN and IPPF as well. And also Esperanza has been joining us as well in the Action Coalition on Bodily Autonomy and SRHR. So welcome, Esperanza. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Elise, and good morning to everyone. I'm going to try to link my intervention with the main questions that you make us. You hear me? Yes. CSE is based on a cross-cutting principle that is embedded in its framework, the principle of gender equality. So easy to communicate, but so hard to become a reality. We could say that we're making progress if the implementation of CSE is built with the participation of adolescents and young people, including the LGBTI population, and when attitudes and practices toward gender equality are observed. By having access to CSE, young people and adolescents realize that they have the right to a free and pleasurable sexuality, make decisions, and therefore to express their bodily autonomy. CSE leads the relationships that are more just and respectful and based on mutual consent. The evidence today restates this. CSE prevents intimate partner violence, making it a vital and necessary element to further gender equality. It also empowers them to dismantle harmful stereotypes and stigmas such as machismo. CSE leads to critical thinking and encourages autonomous individuals to carry out their life plan. Now, the roadmap towards global sustainable development recognizes that education is essential to achieve its ultimate goal of ending poverty in an egalitarian world, and has UNESCO leading the key activities of SDGs number 4 on education, and emphasizes the beneficial contribution that CSE can make. Under this goal, specifically 4.5, and CSE taking into account, it could contribute to eliminate gender disparities and ensure access to all levels of education. And with respect to goal 4.7, CSE's perspective strengthens knowledge and skills on human rights, a culture of peace and non-violence, and the appreciation of cultural diversity. In this regard, SDGs 3, 4, and 5, respectively, present sexuality through a positive approach that goes beyond reproduction, risk, and diseases, and highlights that good health, quality education, and gender equality are interconnected. In response, IPPF is committed to the Global CSE Partnership Forum to collaborate and build a strong and united voice to promote CSE, a strategic response to influence a funded national policy through evidence-based modalities. And CSE supports being better prepared to make decisions in our personal lives, which in turn shapes the social life of the country, positively impacting public health, human relations, and the reduction of social and economic gaps. This is the case in countries where CSE is institutionalized and included in the public agenda and implemented into educational programs in and out of school. CSE makes it possible to build a critical and empowering citizenship that holds governments accountable, which translate into more democratic and egalitarian societies. IPPF member associations deliver CSE to more than 25 million young people and adolescents annually. So we know that there is a continuing and acute need for CSE around the world. This is the opportune moment to remind governments that they have a pending commitment with comprehensive sexuality education, and that this should be included in formal and informal education without delay. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Esperanza. I think that your thoughts are very important. I think that it is very important to highlight the gap that is still there and the responsibility of governments of implementing comprehensive sexuality education And also, I know that like I always say this, but the importance of involving young people in these programs, in the design and in the implementation, meaningful youth engagement is more important now than ever. And I think that it is important to highlight that and to remember governments, they also have the obligation of involving young people when they are preparing these programs. And now I'm gonna pass the mic to Daniela Meneses from Transform Education and member of the Global Advisory Committee at UNG. So please, Daniela, welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm very, very honored to be part of the Global Partnership Forum. And yeah, so I'm here to share a little bit more of my perspective. I work as an advocate for SRHR, currently living in Ecuador, so I wanted to share a little bit of my perspective as an activist. I work closely with girls and young women from different rural areas, especially from my country. And I think this replicates in many countries that also have a little access to education or to certain services such as internet access, for instance. It became quite clear the idealization they have of becoming housewives and mothers. At a very young age, they're encouraged to become mothers at a very young age. They have this idea that the way to contribute to a society is by being useful and being a mother, because that's the way things have been taught to them. And I think this is an important point because you can see that is a limitation for accessing education. Girls get married at a very young age. Girls are encouraged to not pursue further education, but rather if they want to drop out of school, they can do it in order to become mothers and to depend or rely on their husbands to provide to their families or to their house. So how can we aspire to achieve gender equality when we don't talk about these topics? Sometimes we misinterpret that CSE should only be focused on sexual intercourse and contraception, and we forget to mention that these other aspects are also important. How can CSE contribute to prevent gender-based violence? There also are studies that show that promoting gender equitable attitudes among boys and girls at a very young age contribute to develop healthy relationships with themselves and with others. And this contributes also to promoting a healthier lifestyle. We provide independence, we provide responsibility and knowledge through CSE. So the cooperation is needed, definitely. There are certain areas in many countries that in order to follow certain curricula activity, they further need education and information. And it might be very hard for communities that don't have access to these resources. I think that education, it's not only important to have it in schools. Also, what has been mentioned before, like parents should be included in these topics as well. I think that the cooperation should not be only international, but also national, working together with other ministries and private and public institutions in order to provide adequate CSE. It's been said before that we need to give young people voices, but we don't only need to be heard, we need to be taken into account whenever there are new programs and where decisions are being made about these topics. We usually misinterpret that CSE is related to SDGs only through the part of quality education, but we have also seen the gender equality, that good health and well-being are being strongly related to CSE. I think there have been also certain studies to talk about how to properly address CSE, and we need to strongly relate the role of parents and the role of communities, religious groups, and teachers in schools. It's difficult to provide the tools that teachers may need, so we need to work as a society in order to develop this. If you have the opportunity to work with your governments, if you are representing your governments, don't forget to include young people. sometimes it's very hard to be an activist and not be heard. It's hard to have an idea that you have no way to pursue it and to actually make it happen. So if you have the chance to give these young people an opportunity, just do it. We have many ideas. We know the information that other peers are needing right now and what young people need. So I think it's important to also make that call to action for all governments to cooperate and work strongly with young people as well. I think it's been inspiring to hear how different countries and how all the interventions that they are doing and the cooperation that it's actually happening in other countries. So this forum, it's a great opportunity to be heard and to also share your experiences. So I think that we as young people are very grateful for your action in the programs that you have been doing. Let's take away that outdated perspective that CSE is a taboo, because even if it is, we need to be talking about these issues and we need to make action so that young people have better sexuality and a better CSE. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniela. And just as closing remarks, I think that it is very important to highlight that this panel has been amazing because it has highlighted the importance of investing in both out of school and in-school CSE programs. We also see that it is very important funding youth-led initiatives that promote CSE because the evidence has shown that young people do not look for information in the school or in the healthcare system because of the discrimination and the stigma that permeate these services. Young people look for evidence for information in the internet and with friends. So that's why it is super important to fund youth-led initiatives and peer education. And it is also very important to center CSE in bodily autonomy. And that includes education on gender identity and sexual orientation. We have received many comments in the Youth Coalition of young people, especially adolescents, who are challenging these binary and heteronormative ways of thinking about comprehensive sexuality education. We also think, just as Daniela said, that meaningful youth engagement is not only to address what adults think that we need, but also what we want to see in CSE. We will always have different priorities than adults, and that is okay. That's part of diversity. And I think that we, just to finalize, I want to highlight again the importance of accountability and transparency in the implementation of these programs, and the importance of governments of addressing the opposition of religious groups. I think that those have been some of the biggest concerns from young people around the world, at least in the work that the Youth Coalition has been doing. So thank you so much. We are very excited as Youth Coalition to be joining this amazing global partnership. And thank you so much for the space.
Thank you so very much, Eunice, for expertly guiding us through that panel discussion and for the robust and insightful sharing from the member states and fellow civil society colleagues and comrades who have been continuing the struggle. Despite the challenges of 2020 and even the challenges of 2021, it's quite fantastic and encouraging to see continuity of the momentum that we had generated by the Nairobi summit in 2019, which I think the representative from the government of Laos had alluded to, and the commitments which were made there by finding expression within the Generation Equality Forum process. And these truly are commitments which speak to the direct realities of young people in their diversity. So thank you very much, Eunice, for your leadership, and once again to the respective member states and civil society colleagues. So as you've all heard now, and as you all might be aware, the Global Partnership Forum on CSE aims to contribute meaningfully to these commitments by building a progressive community of practice and harmonizing our messages and efforts. I now invite you all, if you still have time and the patience, to stay on and look at some of the commitments that have been made towards CSE by some of the members of the Partnership Forum. Tech team, please take it away.
By 2025, IPPF will provide all young people, especially those in Africa, Southeast Asia, and Latin America, the Caribbean, with comprehensive sexuality education and influence governments to establish legislations to include CSE into a curricula of education programs.
The Guttmacher Institute commits to providing new evidence on adolescents' sexual and reproductive health and to working with partners to ensure equitable access to services and comprehensive sex education.
We commit to reaching girls and young women in at least 10 more countries with CSE and training them to be advocates for CSE in their communities.
Rutgers commit to reach 4 million young people in all their diversity in at least 12 countries with comprehensive sexuality education in and out of school before their sexual debut by 2025.
WellLabs works in partnership with youth to design and deliver comprehensive sex education that reflects their needs and wants so that they have the tools, knowledge, and agency to support a healthy and empowered transition into adulthood.
IPPF WHR is an intersectional feminist ecosystem rooted in Latin America and the Caribbean. On behalf of the 30 organizations that are part of the network, we commit to reach 1.5 million people with comprehensive sexuality education by 2025. With comprehensive sexuality education that is evidence-based, gender-affirming, we are very happy to take this forward with you. Thank you.
Youth Lead is committed to address CSE needs to lead to young key populations and HIV. The young key populations drop out of their schools at very early stage, which makes CSE needs very critical for them.
Frontline AIDS pledges to end AIDS among adolescent girls and young women by supporting young women advocates to secure the renewal of the ESSA commitments.
At IPAS, we are committed to work with locally led movements to hold governments accountable to fulfill their obligation to provide comprehensive sexuality education that include information about contraception and abortion.
Love Matters commits to providing comprehensive sexuality education that is fact-based, open, non-judgmental, and pleasure-positive, and empowers them to make informed decisions regarding their sexual health and well-being.
YWCA Movement is committed to invest in leadership that enables young women to make decisions about their bodies, health, and sexuality, mobilize communities, and advocate for progressive human rights-based policies in order to achieve their full potential.
Advocates for Youth believes young people have the right to comprehensive sexuality education. We're committed to making CSE a reality by developing CSE materials, providing training and support for educators and youth activists, and nurturing partnerships internationally.
And that's just a taste of some of the incredible commitments that we've received from the incredible members of this dynamic partnership. There are many, many more members, but unfortunately we couldn't cram all 50 plus of them into the one video that you've now seen. Colleagues, I think this is the moment we've all been waiting for. And now to formally and officially launch this Global Partnership Forum, I would like to invite Ms. Rebecca Jensen, who is the Director of the Division for Peace and Sustainable Development for UNESCO, who will deliver closing remarks and officiate our official launch. Over to you, Ma'am Rebecca.
Thank you so much, Levi, and thank you for excellent moderation of the event this afternoon, and thank you to all our panelist moderators and also the participants in the panel for a very, very informative and really very interesting discussion this afternoon. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. And sadly, we have now come to the end of this launch event, which I think has been really very, very timely organized here at the eve of the Generation Equality Forum, which is due to start tomorrow. So this community of practice on CSE, comprehensive sexuality education, that we are here to launch, aims to strengthen coordination amongst UN agencies, civil society, not least youth-led organizations, academics, and also bilaterals, all engaged in the effort to overcome challenges, advance research, promote good practices, and overall enhance collaboration. We have heard a lot this afternoon in the panel discussions about how comprehensive sexuality education is being delivered on the ground, and also how it's contributing to bodily autonomy and better sexual and reproductive health and rights for all young people. Fortunately, more and more countries are implementing and also scaling up CSE programs. And maybe some of you had the opportunity to also follow an event that UNESCO had with other organizations last Thursday, where we were launching a new UN report on the global status of CSE. And the good news is, according to this report, that young people worldwide really are demanding access to quality CSE. And so I think we really need to build on this momentum and strengthen our coordination if we want to overcome the challenges we are all facing in advancing CSE. The young people deserve this. UNESCO has played an important role and will continue to play an important role in advancing comprehensive sexuality education. However, this progress wouldn't have been possible if it hadn't been for working with all of you in collaboration and partnership with UN organizations, civil society, funding agencies, researchers, and also government champions. Some of them were here today. And our collective vision for this forum is that we really mobilize an active and visible CSE community with advocates and actors who work together to advance dialogue and also good practice on CSE. So the forum is intended to focus on issues which would be best addressed collectively, such as building support for and dealing with opposition or increasing research and evidence we have on the impact of CSE. And we also want to ensure that this forum is not a forum that just preaches to the choir, but often CSE is considered the domain of those working on sexual and reproductive health and rights. In fact, CSE cannot be advanced without the key role played by actors from the education sector. Therefore, we are making a deliberate effort to include and engage them. So instead of working in silos, as someone among you also said, we aim for this forum to be the go-to space for dialogue, debate, and doing business together when it comes to comprehensive sexuality education. So along with UNFPA, UNESCO is really very happy and very proud to be launching this forum and also be providing the secretariat for it. So once again, thank you to all of you who have been instrumental in making this event such an interesting and timely event. And we look forward to working with all of you and taking this forward. Thank you.